guys. Thank you for joining another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? With your host, Attorney Simone Redwine. Thank you guys for joining. It's been way too long since I've seen you guys. So I did my best to try and do Sunday service the other day. But as I mentioned on my community post page, Jesus decided he wanted to use me in a different way. He told me to get on a plane and take my behind to Chicago, where he wanted me to minister to some single young Black souls. And so I did. Had a great time. I got my little black scene hat. I was a little cockeyed. Anyway, so we've got that. But I'm back and ready to go. So I was on the boat yesterday. And child, we got the notice that Biden had officially withdrawn from the race. Now, I have to tell you, I didn't think it was going to happen because I felt like it was so late in the process. But when it did, I think we were also shocked. I didn't want to process it because I was like, look, now, Jesus told me to minister to you guys today in this bikini on this boat, which is, everybody's different. I'm Catholic, so your Jesus may speak to you in a different way. That's your business. But we were all kind of like, I can't speak for others, but I was like, ooh, this is a lot to process. So I wanted to take some time, think about it, and then come and get some opinions from you guys. So it says, she said, off the boat and back with the rest. I am. Today this is my hair is looking a little like this. I actually just got off a jet ski. All right, so we've already got some commentary in here. I'm also going to be dropping the link. Here we go. I'm going to drop the link to invite people if they want to give their commentary. Again, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. It's your choice. I just dropped the link. If you don't want to show your face, you don't have to. You can just hit the button that says, that you stop the camera. So initially to come in, you do have to hit camera. Then once you're in, you just turn it off and you can continue. So, thank you, Frankie. I appreciate the compliment. All right, 7 is saying no. Kamala is not going to win. Trump is destined to be president. Okay. Let me know in the chat, what is it about her that makes you feel she won't win? Or is there something about him that makes you feel like he's either the better candidate or that voters will find him? What's tricky in America is it's not about the popular vote. Hillary Clinton won the election by the popular vote by approximately 4 million people. It's either 4 million or 7 million, but I'm pretty sure it was 4 million. If someone could fact check that in the chat, I'd appreciate that. It's about the Electoral College. And I think many people's concern was that the last time, what they're doing is they're comparing the results when Hillary ran against Trump to what would likely happen with Kamala. Now, part of the main issue with Trump is that Trump won because they said it was either 53% or 53% of Caucasian women voted for Trump and against her, basically voted against the women that look like them. So they thought, well, if that's what those women did, why would they vote for Kamala? I'm going to give you my thoughts real quickly, and then I would love to hear you guys'. My thoughts are that it's also going to turn likely on the quality, not the quality, but on the person she picks for VP. Now, I've seen multiple different comments for VP. Some have said, hold on. Let's see. So we'll talk about, what I want to talk about here right now is the VP selection and how that matters, why it matters, but also what's the process, what happens next for the Democratic Party as it relates to presidential election. Now, as it relates to who she picks, this is going to be critical. Now, I'm going to analogize it to, because that's how my mind works in analogies. I want to analogize it to Trump and his pick for J.D. Vance as vice president. Now, so many people have been running these ads about all the talk J.D. Vance did about how terrible Trump is and how he's basically changed his mind and now he's singing Trump's praises now that Trump has selected him. And many of those articles are doing it, all of them right now are doing it to basically say J.D. Vance is a flip-flopper, he does not tell the truth, and that we shouldn't trust him. Here's the thing, though. I actually think that's a wise strategy to pick someone like J.D. Vance as the vice presidential candidate and running mate for Trump, because their biggest issue within their party is that there are a lot of traditional Republicans who were like, I can't vote for him again. I can't have another presidency that was like that last one. Now, remember the last one, Pence was a butt kisser. All he did was sit up there and kiss that man's butt. But I think specifically the reason they picked JD Vance is because he can appeal to those people who don't want to vote for Trump at all, but they want to preserve Republican conservative values. See, by picking a candidate who don't like Trump either, then they can say to themselves, hey, I voted for that ticket. I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for Republican values. But if they would have selected somebody who was just a Trump butt kisser once again, they couldn't do that. My point with Kamala and her pick is that they should select someone who, for vice presidential candidate, who, if you don't like Kamala, they would feel comfortable saying, I don't like her, but I'll vote for him because he represents my liberal values, democratic values, centered values, whatever. Because remember, with Biden, the reason Biden was the vice presidential nominee to go with Obama was for all those people who felt, I don't know if I can go with Obama. He's too conservative. Oh, but Biden is right down the middle. He's, not too liberal, but he straddles that line. So I just simply think that the best bet, if Kamala wins the presidential election for the Democratic Party, is to pick someone who is more conservative, more middle of the road, so that the people who care about the Supreme Court, because that's what it's going to come down here, to get people out to vote, as I said before, is going to be the people who do not like what the Supreme Court is currently doing and are concerned about picking a presidential candidate who is not going to let these types of judges remain or pick more of them. Here we go. Let's see some of these comments. Black women vote at 97% and men at 88%. That is true. Now the Trumpsters are wearing bandages on their ears. Oh, God. Trump's not the better candidate. She's saying he just has a cult-like following. He does. But see, the thing is, that cult-like following is one group, but by picking a J.D. Vance person, he's able to get the non-cult members who are just about the Republican values. She was not serious about being VP. I'm not sure what she is. She's a woman and a Black woman. Realistically, it's not going to happen. I can understand why some people might feel that way. However, other people feel like the strong showing that she got, Kamala, got yesterday. So yesterday was a Zoom. I received information for the Zoom from a plethora of Black women that I believe are movers and shakers and brilliant people. And in that Zoom, she raised over $1 million. Yeah, like 1.5 million, almost 1.9. In addition, here we go. These are the stats. Okay. It says at Lewis Dating update as of 9 p.m. yesterday, they raised $4.6 million for VP Kamala Harris's campaign launch. This has been the biggest fundraising day of the 2022 election cycle. Smaller dollar donors are fired up and ready to take on this election. Here we go. Oh, thank you so much. Showstoppers for kids. Should Michelle run? Oh my gosh. Yes, I love her, but boy, they hate her. So I'm gonna have to say no. I don't want that for her. Lord knows we need her, but I don't want her to have to go through that because the way they drag her husband and any little thing she did, oh God, I would be worried about her safety among other things. Let me say the minute of this. Miss Brenda said she's not part of a cult. Her great grandparents were Republicans. I have a number of relatives who say the same things. Just remember, those Republicans are actually the equivalent of the Democratic Party. The values, etc., are actually reversed. But that is a thing. Okay. After I can't pronounce your name. Oh, but Ms. I'm gonna just say Ms. After Project 2025, the mandate from the Republican Party, everyone needs to vote, or we'll be going backwards. Brenda, what do you think about Project, Miss Brenda Taylor? If you feel like commenting in the comments, what do you think of Project 2025? Is there anything in there that makes you uncomfortable? And are you comfortable with the Supreme Court justice, the current rulings that they have in this current term? All right. Roland Martin is organizing a campaign with men like the call for Kamala to also raise money. Excellent. Somebody said, "Why do people keep Elite Leah? Why do people keep asking about Michelle running?" She has said many times that she will never run and hates politics. She's like me. Like I couldn't even date a man that was in politics. I couldn't even date a preacher. They put me right out at that church, just like they did Megan Good, just like they did her. Y'all should see me today. I was minding my business, and I just hopped off the jet ski. I'll never forget this. I had on no pants because I had on like a bikini bottom, and I had on my life vest. And I'm hopping out the jet ski to like walk into a restaurant, realize I have no pants on. And I stand up and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work getting into this restaurant with no pants, but I'm hungry. And all of a sudden I hear, "Is that Simone?" And I look over and it's some of my best friends in Houston, some of my favorite people who literally saw me. I just say that to say as an example, like when you are in that limelight, you have to think about every little thing. You can't just hop on a jet ski. You can't just do what you want to do. So I can understand why many people would think 5 times over before they would allow or encourage their spouses to go into politics, because when you do that, you permit everyone to judge you. Um, the Swifties will put a huge dent in the polls. Oh, it says if Oprah supports Kamala, she will win. Um, so why do people keep asking that? Yeah, let me get that. I would love it. Like I would never want that for her. I would never want to subject her to that. Her as in Michelle Obama. What I want to hear in the chat though, who do you think would be alternative candidates to Kamala? I keep hearing people say no, no, no. Who would be alternative candidates? So as you're doing that, I want to break down for you. Here's what happens next. I'm gonna give it a second. I'm at my homegirl's house and she has this beautiful, it's like this AI generation light thingy. And so that's what you're hearing in the background. If you could hear it, it's making these water sounds. Criminally Online said, I dated a guy back in the day who worked for Atlanta Mayor Bill Campbell, and it was a mess. Oh, D said, I wonder why Stacey Adams isn't an option. Oh, Eat Pray is saying Gavin Newsom. I think the first question would be, does Stacey want to? And then in all parties, but especially Democratic Party, they tend to have this wait your turn philosophy. And therefore, I could see them saying, not saying, but insinuating that perhaps Stacey would be a better VP type of candidate. But also remember, she hasn't won an office, a statewide office yet. She ran for governor and didn't win that one, and has been appointed to different things. But I think I would guess that might be a part of it. Well, when I say that, when she ran for governor, she had a position prior to that. I just can't remember what it was. But it wasn't like governor. It wasn't attorney general for the state. All right. Bernice says, when Trump gets, and Bernice, thank you for being a member. She says, when Trump gets frustrated, he will say something about her being half Asian. News flash, JD Vance's wife is Asian too. JD Vance is from around here, Ohio, and we can't stand him. Yeah, he's so problematic. D, tell me, what is it that you guys don't like? Or you can just tell me, what is it you don't like about Kamala? Yes. Well, so Stacey was a state rep. And let me clarify, when I say she hadn't had a statewide position, when I think of, state reps, they represent basically a district. They represent a district within the state. So when I think of statewide, I think of like a governor or an attorney general, some role like that where people in multiple districts have elected you to your role. So, can Gavin run with him being from California? Yep. Him being the governor of California won't prevent it. Pence was governor of Indiana. So here's what happens next. Let me remove this. All right. So the next step is this. Now, I want to be very clear. Some people, I saw some commentary that said the fact that this isn't just given to Kamala is testimony that the Democratic Party doesn't support Black women. I disagree with that. Instead, it's a testimony that the Democratic Party is a party of rules and regulations. We do not, like the Republican Party, just make up things all willy-nilly and say, well, because this is what Trump wants or this is what the presiding person wants, then they get to do it their way. There have always been rules in place on what's to happen next, and here's what they are. So, with President Joe Biden stepping down as a presidential nominee, the Democratic Party will need to initiate a process to elect a new nominee. Here's how that happens. This involves an open nominating process at the Democratic National Convention. Potential candidates include Vice President Kamala Harris, Governors Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmire, and others. Any others could seek the nomination. Biden's endorsement of Harris may influence the process, but the final decision will be made by the delegates and the party leaders through this convention that's coming up in August. That's the thing. It's less than a month. No, it's actually 1 month. It's 1 month to this convention. The convention is going to be August 19th through the 26th. So when Biden bowed out or whatever, when he did, he left basically a month on the table for them to potentially find a different candidate. But what happens is that there are electors, just like there's an electoral college, each party, Republican and Democrat, they have people that are designated at their convention to place a vote for the candidate. Now, because it's historically, whenever there is a presiding president and then they're simply seeking re-election, no one ever runs against him. That's why Biden didn't have anyone running against him. But when it is what's called an open seat, which is the situation over on Trump's side, on the Republican side, that's why on their side you had different debates. So between now and then, there's going to be a number of names that are thrown into it. And when you hear people say, oh, well, the reason they're throwing those names is they don't support Black women, I just want you to know that that's not the case. The case is that people have to be given the opportunity to vote at the convention. And I believe Kamala herself would prefer that a candidate be thrown into the ring, perhaps at least one, so that she can feel that she's won it fair and square and maybe not handed to her. I'm not sure. That's my opinion. But just because someone enters the race, they could be entering the race because at the end of the day, the issue is who do we believe is the most electable? Gavin Newsom has some serious issues because Republicans refer to California as, the armpit of America, so to speak. They see it as a country, a state with way too high taxes. And the first thing that a Republican would point to would say, Gavin Newsom is going to turn the rest of America with lower tax rates into a California. Now, anybody with common sense who's read a American government or U.S. history textbook knows good and well that's not possible. The president cannot do that. But we also know that many Americans are stupid. They only listen to headlines on social media, and they don't actually read articles or even listen to complete videos. Yes. Do I believe that Kamala's ready? Absolutely. She's actually much older. She's older than Obama was at his point. I also think that the roles and the leadership, she's literally gone through all of the ranks. She was the county prosecutor, the district attorney, right? Then she was an attorney general. The attorney general is literally responsible for ensuring justice throughout their state. She had very proactive programs. Then after that, there was attorney general. She became a state senator. I'm sorry, a U.S. senator, and then, of course, vice president. But I think, here we go. Purple Rain. Harris needs to do more for HBCUs. She's a Howard grad. Okay, I hear you, but I will be honest. It's hard to do more for HBCUs because what happens is you give them the money and they don't give it to the students. Boom, I said it. Yes. So the government can assign as much money as possible. Part of it is staffing and having sufficient staffing in the respective departments so that the money can get where it needs to be. But also, the students don't do a good job of raising their concerns to people who can fix them. Like I used to say all the time when students that I was aware of, their money was getting messed up, this and that, you need to file a complaint with the Department of Education. They don't know that your school every semester is losing your financial aid check. A federal file the complaint. If you file the complaint, it will launch an investigation and change can occur. Instead, these poor students drop out and they give up because there's monumental obstacles. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to pretend like the Trump administration did a bunch for HBCUs, because let me tell you what they did do for HBCUs. The Trump administration has made it so they're not going to exist anymore. The Trump administration disbanded DEI, which is diversity and equity and inclusion activities. So you cannot say you support HBCUs and disband the entire entities that gets that HBCU graduate a level playing field to compete for a job. Don't happen. Housing market and private investors procuring single family homes. Oh my gosh, which has caused the market destabilization. Where does she stand on that? Oh, we need to see that is so critical. One of the biggest things that I have an issue with is I believe that foreigners should not be able to own more than one single family residence. If people that are residents of China should not be able to wholesale buy entire communities. That is literally it happens. I'm from Dallas, the Uptown community, Uptown off of McKinney, that was bought through a foreign investment. That was created through a foreign investment program, which is called EB5, where if you invest in literally brown neighborhoods, at least $500,000, then and it creates at least, I believe it was either 10 jobs or 30 jobs, you could receive US citizenship. That was the only way you could get US citizenship, by paying money versus the lottery, which is what other people had to do. Now there are a ton of Chinese nationals that don't even live here that have just bought up properties and then they're holding them or they're renting them. Here's why. In China, their stock market returns are substantially lower than ours. But so therefore, they want real estate because the real estate appreciates faster. And because in their culture, their stock market has very low returns, they feel completely comfortable buying a property, sitting on it, not selling it 10, 20 years or what have you, and then renting it out or simply holding it and not renting it to a person. The problem with that becomes those who own the most real estate control elections. So if we're truly concerned about terrorism and this, that, and the third, as well as primarily terrorism, which the Republican Party says that they're going to be tough on, they got to stop letting these foreign corporations buy up single family residents. Now, I don't have a problem. It's one thing if they're buying and creating apartment complexes, multifamily, but the single family homes that you and I want to raise our kids in, I'm not about to play with them on that. I ain't gonna do that. It's already taken away DI scholarships, and I have a daughter that will be headed to college next month. Exactly. So you can't say somebody supports HBCUs when they're literally preventing money to be earmarked to both help those students through, but also to then employ them in jobs. The way, like, part of the value of going to an HBCU is because you knew when you went to an HBCU and they had a job fair, they were looking for you. They were happy to have diversity. So now these students have the same job fairs, but now these companies get to say, ha ha, we didn't want you in the first place, but now we're not even coming. We're not even coming. Ask at the HBCU law schools. They do not have nearly the same number of firms that are planning to come this summer as prior summers. Sorry, I'm getting all wound up, y'all. Okay, so at the Divine Nine, and okay, Black women, LGBTQ, and white women who want their reproductive rights protected vote for VP Harris, the Republican Party should be concerned. I think so too. What I think is very feasible is that perhaps there will be part of Caucasian females who are terrified about reproductive rights. Most importantly, we really need to hammer home for access to birth control. Baby, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. Disproportionately, they get more abortions than any other demographic. Disproportionately. They just don't tell. They don't report them. They keep them more secret. Okay. So everybody, not everybody, but various groups are getting them. They disproportionately get more. They also, statistically, they put their daughters on birth control at a far younger age. I believe secretly, they may not express this to their husband or to their Republican homegirls, but I believe they would be extremely concerned about their daughters not having access to birth control. Part of the way the Republican Party has done this, and the Supreme Court has actually ruled, federal courts, correction, have ruled that we no longer have a right to birth control. Let me tell you what that means. Previously, all healthcare insurance policies had to cover insurance. And during the Obama administration, that was fantastic because it gave poor people access through Medicare and Medicaid, access to birth control, such as what is it, the IUD, the permanent ones that last for 5 years. Those are found to be some of the best long-term methods because we all know you take your pill today, you might forget about it tomorrow. My point is, now, nope, because of the ruling of Trump's Supreme Court justices, there you go. Because of those rulings, healthcare companies going forward, if they chose to, could say, we're going to limit birth control. We're only going to allow you birth control that's the pill. We're not going to do all forms, even if a doctor decides a particular form is best for, let's say, that teenager that's going off to college a freshman year and wants something that's going to be 5 years long. All right, Trump admin wants to cut work. Yep, sure does. All of those things, they want to cut study, but people are like, immigration. The immigrant is not taking your work study. First of all, they're not allowed to work at all. As a student with a student visa, sorry, that's the AI generated water thingy in the background. But as a student on a student visa, all you can do is work. I'm sorry, all you can do is be a student. You're not allowed to work in any capacity. So worried about these immigrants and all of this, these immigrants are not taking your job, as Trump calls it, your black job. But that's a different issue that can certainly be addressed. But if you're thinking about your future or your children's future, you really need to think about who do you want to be nominating your Supreme Court justices. All right, what else we got here? JD Vance believes a 10-year-old, that's right, that has been our word, has to have the baby. It happened in Ohio, and I totally forgot that they sure did. Certain women always have access. Okay, somebody said certain women also always have access to a word. I've probably said it too much. I think what you're meaning, like privileged women. You're right. You are. She was throwing people in prison for weed. Look at her history. All right, so here's what is important that you need to understand. When someone comes into office, they don't, and they're as district attorney, they don't have the ability to change the laws. The laws that are there, you have to get in and then you have to effectuate certain things and make progress. If you actually look at her policies, that was not part of, she supported actually, her office had a number of candidates that they submitted to President Obama or whichever the presidents were at the time that they believed were from California, but should be given federal pardons for charges like weed, like nonviolent charges. So while that may have happened towards the beginning of her reign, but I'm open to it. If you get a chance in the comments, I would love to see any articles that you have. Because what I've been finding is I've enjoyed this discourse with different people. And I found that some of the articles that people are reading or going by, the headline will say something. But when you read a little further, what you might see is, for example, the prior person in office had pending cases and they handled them a particular way. And then you get in office and you, as the DA, and you have to change policy and you have to change law and you have to change rule and come up with a new, this is how we're going to handle it. In addition, most DAs, if you're trafficking weed, you're not treated the same as use. So that was a distinct difference. And it's a difference nationwide. And that is because at that point, it wasn't legal yet. And even when it is legal, actually, if you're distributing it on a wholesale basis, um, without the proper channels, then you're in big trouble. California, though, is one of the few states where when it comes to receiving a license to be able to legally previously had, they have ways in which the various programs. I'm going to get some more information on that so I can make sure that I'm speaking from the current law. They're acting like she was showing up to people's homes and arresting them, throwing them in jail for weed. No, as a prosecutor, she did her job in court. Their attorney was supposed to beat their case. But also, um, you're limited to the law. If you are the district attorney, you don't get to say, oh, I don't like this law, so in our county, it's not going to be the law. No, that's literally what the Republicans did when they said, oh, I don't want Obama to be able to appoint a Supreme Court justice, even though every president's allowed to. We're going to change the rules and we're not going to let him do that. They are not a law and order party. If we like the law, we're going to apply it. And you can't live in a democracy that way. Now, if you're going to be upset about the law, that's fair, but you can't be upset about someone's job to apply the law who does their job properly. Because then the next step is, if you don't like the law, you become what she did, which was a senator. And then as senator, you can vote for certain things to make the changes. That's why now California has the most prolific and the most lenient weed laws. So I understand why some people can say, but she prosecuted it, but also she led the forefront to the leniency that we see today. So, all right. Well, I've got to get ready to go, guys. I just wanted to drop some thoughts down there. We didn't have, it looks like we don't have anyone that's joined. Reason that a crime is a freaking habit. No harm done. Gotcha. But drop any comments below on any topics you want to cover this week. There is, I believe it was Sonia, the grandmother, who was pow-powed in her own home. We're going to go through that video, and we're going to talk about what solutions that realistically we need to put on the table, and that we need to hold the politicians to stop these things, to see what change we can more quickly effectuate and get these cops out of a job. Thank you. Prosecutors can't change laws. They can only enforce them. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Appreciate you. Bye, y'all.